Imagine yourself settling into the stillness of your evening, the world around you softening as the day's clamor fades. Tonight, we embark on a gentle, winding journey into the ancient Americas, a land of towering pyramids, vibrant marketplaces, and intricate rituals, where civilizations like the Maya, Aztec, Inca, and others thrived long before the arrival of Europeans. But beneath their monumental achievements lay daily lives shaped by practices that might seem strange, even unsettling, to us today. Routines of hygiene, sustenance, and survival that pulsed with the rhythm of their world. In this calm exploration, we'll wander through bustling cities and quiet villages, uncovering the textures, smells, and struggles of their everyday existence. Let the steady cadence of history guide you as we begin with a morning in a Maya household, where the day's work begins under the tropical sun. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let the past unfold like a quiet dream. A morning in a Maya household, picture yourself standing at the edge of a Maya village, just as dawn breaks over the dense jungles of the Yucatan. Around 600 CE, the air is warm and heavy, thick with the scent of damp earth, blooming ceiba trees, and the faint smoke of hearths being kindled. The village stirs slowly, its thatched roof homes of limestone and wood casting long shadows across packed dirt paths. In one such home, a Maya woman, let's call her Ixchel, a name honoring the goddess of weaving and childbirth, rises from a woven reed mat, her movements deliberate and unhurried as the rhythm of her life begins anew. Ixchel's home is modest yet functional, its walls of plastered limestone cool to the touch despite the rising heat outside. The floor, swept clean of dust, is bare earth, tamped hard by years of footsteps. A small hearth in the corner glows with embers, its smoke curling upward through a hole in the thatched roof, carrying the faint, acrid scent of burning copal resin, an offering to the gods. The air inside is a blend of earthy clay, dried maize, and the lingering tang of last night's meal, a stew of beans and chili, perhaps now crusted in a clay pot. Hygiene, as you might imagine it, is not a priority in the modern sense, but a series of practical rituals shaped by necessity, belief, and the environment. Ixchel begins her day by splashing her face and hands with water from a shallow clay basin, filled from a nearby cenote, a natural limestone sinkhole that serves as the village's water source. The water is cool and slightly mineral, its surface rippling in the dim light filtering through the open doorway. Soap, as we know it, does not exist. Instead, she might rub her skin with a paste of crushed yucca root, its faint, starchy scent clinging to her fingers. This act of washing is brief, focused on the hands, face, and sometimes feet, as water is precious and the Maya believe excessive washing could weaken the body's vital energy, or chalal. Her long black hair, braided tightly to keep it manageable, is combed with a bone comb, its teeth worn smooth from years of use. Lice, a constant companion in the humid tropics, might prompt her to rub her scalp with a mixture of crushed herbs, perhaps mint or sage, whose sharp aroma lingers in the air. Her clothing, a simple woven huipil of cotton dyed with indigo or cochineal, is practical but rarely washed. Cotton, a labor-intensive crop, is valuable, and washing risks fading the vibrant colors that signify her family's status within the village. Instead, Ixchel shakes out her huipil, beating it against a wooden post to dislodge dust and insects, the soft thump echoing in the quiet morning. Sweat and oils from her skin have darkened the fabric's inner layers, but this is unremarkable in a world where cleanliness is secondary to survival. She ties a woven sash around her waist, its intricate patterns a quiet testament to her skill as a weaver, and steps outside to begin her tasks. The morning meal is prepared over the hearth, where Ixchel grinds maize on a stone matate, the rhythmic scrape of stone against stone blending with the chatter of waking children. The maize, stored in clay jars, is mixed with water to form dough for tortillas, which are patted flat and cooked on a clay comel. The air fills with the warm, nutty scent of toasted maize, mingling with the faint bitterness of chili peppers roasting nearby. Hands, unwashed beyond the morning rinse, shape the dough, and the family eats with fingers, sitting on reed mats around the hearth. The clay vessels used for cooking are scrubbed with sand and water, but residues of grease and food cling stubbornly, a faint rancid undertone unnoticed by those accustomed to it. Personal hygiene extends to oral care, though it is minimal. Ixchel might chew on a twig of the Chechen tree, its fibrous end fraying to clean her teeth, or rub them with a cloth dipped in a mixture of charcoal and salt. Tooth decay is common. exacerbated by a diet heavy in maize, and her smile, if she offers one, might reveal darkened or missing teeth, a mark of endurance rather than shame. The children, imitating her, chew similar twigs, their small hands sticky with maize dough, the air around them alive with the hum of daily life. The village's sanitation reflects the era's limits. Waste is managed in a simple pit latrine behind the home, a shallow hole lined with stones and covered with a wooden plank. The smell, sharp and earthy, is partially masked by ash or crushed lime sprinkled daily, but it lingers in the humid air. Chamber pots, made of clay, are used at night and emptied into the latrine at dawn, their surfaces slick with use. Water for washing or drinking comes from the cenote, but its purity is questionable, as it serves the entire village for bathing, laundry, and waste disposal. Parasites and infections, though not fully understood, are a constant risk, and Exhal's family, like others, relies on herbal remedies, teas of epazote or chamomile, to soothe the ailments likely caused by contaminated water. The broader village hums with similar routines. Men prepare for the fields, their bodies dusted with the red soil of the milpa, while women weave, cook, or tend to children. The air is alive with sounds, the clatter of looms, the laughter of children, the distant bark of a dog, but also with smells, sweat, smoke, and the faint decay of organic refuse piled near homes for use as fertilizer. Hygiene is a collective effort, yet limited by resources and knowledge. Bathing, when it occurs, is a communal act in the cenote, where men, women, and children splash in the same waters, their bodies glistening in the dappled sunlight filtering through the jungle canopy. These moments, though rare, are social, filled with quiet chatter and the soft ripple of water, a brief respite from labor. Archaeological evidence enriches this picture. Excavations at sites like Tikal and Chichen Itza reveal clay basins, bone combs, and grinding stones, their surfaces worn from daily use. Cesspits and latrines, often found near residential compounds, contain traces of maize, seeds, and parasite eggs, confirming the diet and health challenges of the time. Ceramic vessels, some with faint residues of chili or cacao, suggest meals prepared with care, but served in conditions we'd find unsanitary. These artifacts, unearthed from the earth, speak to a people who thrive despite their environment, their lives a delicate balance of ingenuity and endurance. Exhal's mourning, like those of her neighbours, is a microcosm of Maya life, practical, communal, and shaped by the land. The heat of the day is rising now, the jungle buzzing with insects, and her tasks will carry her through fields, markets, and rituals, each marked by the same blend of effort and oversight. As we leave her village, let us follow a key figure whose life offers deeper insight into the practices that define this civilization. The daily life of a Maya noble. Imagine yourself ascending the broad stone steps of a grand Maya palace, temple complex in the heart of Palenque, around 750 CE, where the air is alive with the distant calls of howler monkeys and the rustle of ceiba leaves in the humid breeze. The structure looms like a verdant pyramid, its limestone facades carved with intricate glyphs that whisper tales of gods and kings. Here, in this seat of power, resides a Maya noble. Let us name him Lord Kenich, a high priest and advisor to the ruling Ahau, his life a tapestry of privilege woven with the same threads of daily drudgery that bind the common folk. His existence, elevated yet ensnared by ritual and responsibility, offers a window into the contrasts of Maya society, where opulence coexisted with the era's unyielding practicalities. Let us follow him through his day, observing the rhythms that defined his world, from dawn's first light to the hush of evening. Lord Kenich awakens in a chamber high within the palace, its walls adorned with stucco friezes depicting the maize god and the hero twins, their forms bathed in the soft, diffused light filtering through narrow, louvered windows. The air is cooler here than in the village below, thanks to the stone's thermal mass, but it carries a faint, musty scent from the thatched roof overhead, where rain from last night's shower lingers in droplets. His sleeping platform, a low stone bench covered with woven reed mats and jaguar pelts, symbols of his rank, is slightly damp, the pelts coarse fur matted from use. Unlike Exhal's simple mat, his bedding is luxurious, yet it too harbours the night's sweat, and the occasional scurry of insects drawn to the warmth. He rises slowly, his body marked by the faint achis of age and ritual fasting, his movements graceful as he stretches beneath a cotton mantle dyed in vibrant reds from cochineal insects. Hygiene for a noble like Kenich is a more elaborate affair, though still constrained by Maya beliefs and resources. An attendant, a young acolyte from a lesser family, enters with a shallow obsidian basin filled with water drawn from a sacred spring at the palace's base. The water, clear but laced with the mineral tang of limestone, is warmed slightly over a brazier of glowing coals, its steam rising like offerings to the rain god Chak. Kanich dips a soft cloth, woven from fine magui fibre, into the basin, wiping his face, neck, and arms with deliberate strokes. The cloth, scented faintly with crushed copal resin burned nearby, leaves his skin glistening, but not truly clean. Residues of yesterday's incense and sweat remain, a subtle reminder that even nobility cannot escape the body's demands. He rinses his mouth with a sip of the water, swishing it to clear the night's staleness, then spits it into a clay spittoon carved with serpent motifs, its surface polished smooth from frequent use. His hair, long and black, tied in a topknot adorned with a jade bead, receives careful attention. The acolyte combs it with a shell comb, its iridescent surface catching the light, while applying a paste of lime and herbs to deter lice, a persistent foe even in elevated circles. The past sharp, citrusy aroma fills the chamber, mingling with the smoke from the brazier, creating a heady atmosphere that evokes the sacred. Bathing, a rare indulgence, might occur today if an important ritual looms. For now, he contents himself with this ablution, believing that over-washing could offend the spirits by stripping the body's natural oils, which are seen as vessels for divine energy. His teeth, filed to points in a fashion among some elites, a mark of beauty and ferocity, are rubbed with a twig of the zapote tree, its bitter sap freshening his breath. Though decay has begun to darken them, a quiet toll of his diet rich in sweet cacao and sticky tamals. Dressing is a ceremony unto itself, underscoring his status. The acolyte assists him into a loincloth of embroidered cotton, its edges fringed with quetzal feathers that shimmer like emeralds, followed by a hip cloth wrapped and tied with a jade, beaded belt. Over this, a mantle of finer weave, painted with glyphs of his lineage, drapes his shoulders. Sandals of woven leather, inlaid with shell, complete the ensemble, their straps adjusted to fit comfortably over feet collused from ceremonial processions. These garments, though beautiful, are not washed frequently. Instead, they are aired on reed frames in the sun, beaten gently to remove dust, and sprinkled with herbal powders to mask odours. The feathers, irreplaceable treasures from distant highlands, are preened like a bird's plumage, their vibrant hues a symbol of connection to the sky gods. Kenich's body, painted with red ochre anato for protection, bears faint streaks from yesterday's application, now flaking slightly onto his skin, a subtle itch he ignores as part of his divine role. The morning meal, served in the palace's antechamber, is a contrast to the village's simplicity. Attendants present clay platters laden with tamales steamed in corn husks, filled with venison or turkey from ritual hunts, accompanied by a toll, a maize drink thickened with cacao and spiced with vanilla. The air fills with the rich, chocolatey aroma, undercut by the faint smokiness of the hearth where it was prepared. Kanich eats with jade spoons and obsidian knives, his hands, washed again in a small basin, dipping occasionally into shared bowls of chili-infused sauces. The vessels, though ornate with painted scenes of ball games and victories, are rinsed with water reused from the morning ablutions, leaving a faint residue that adds an unintended earthiness to the flavours. Dining is solitary for reflection, yet communal in service, with the acolyte hovering to refill his cup, his own meal a cold remnant eaten standing. As the sun climbs, Kanich's day turns to duties. He descends to the temple courtyard, where stone altars gleam under the tropical sun, their surfaces stained from blood offerings. Though today is a day of preparation, not sacrifice, the air here is thicker, laced with the metallic tang of past rituals and the ever-present humidity that clings to skin like a second layer. He consults codices, folded bark paper books painted with glyphs, unrolling them on a low stone table, their pages brittle and scented with the faint must of age. These texts, guarded jealously, detail astronomical observations and prophetic cycles, guiding his role as diviner. His fingers, inked from marking tallies on slate, trace the symbols, the soft scrape a meditative sound amid the distant hum of the city. Hygiene intersects with ritual in profound ways. Before entering the inner sanctum, Kenich performs a cleansing rite, burning copal on a clay censer, its white smoke curling upward like prayers, enveloping him in a purifying haze. The resin-sticky residue clings to his hands, a sacred mark he washes off later with lime water. It's a stringent bite, a reminder of purity's cost. The temple's latrine, a stone-lined pit behind the structure, is more refined than the village's, screened by reed mats for privacy, but shares the same earthy odor, mitigated by lime scatters. Waste from offerings, including animal remains, is buried nearby, its decomposition a slow process in the heat, attracting flies that buzz lazily in the shade. The palace complex buzzes with activity mirroring his routine on a grander scale. Nobles like Kanich oversee scribes copying codices, their reed pens dipping into pots of lampblack ink, the air in scriptoria thick with the scent of wet bark and concentrated focus. Women of high birth, veiled in feathered headdresses, weave ceremonial cloths in shaded porticos, their looms clicking rhythmically, threads dyed with colours that bleed slightly in the humidity. Children of the elite, trained in glyphs and dance, practice in courtyards, their small bodies sweating under the sun, wiped clean with cloths dampened in shared basins. Sanitation for the noble class involves aqueducts channeling spring water to elite reservoirs, cleaner than cenotes but still prone to stagnation, algae blooming on surfaces like green veils. Archaeological insights deepen our understanding. Excavations at Palenque's Temple of the Inscriptions reveal royal burial chambers with jade masks and ceramic vessels containing residues of cacao drinks, hinting at elite diets and their vessels reused without thorough cleaning. Bone combs and obsidian mirrors from noble tombs show wear from daily grooming, while latrine pits yield pollen from medicinal herbs, confirming hygiene aids. Stela and murals like those in Bonampak depict nobles in resplendent garb, their painted forms idealized yet betrayed by faint outlines of sweat and dust in the pigment's cracks, a subtle artistic nod to lived reality. Kanich's afternoon might involve a procession to a ball court, where the rubber ball thuds against stone walls, players grunting with effort, their bodies oiled with achiote for grip and gloss. The court's dust clings to skin, a fine red powder that requires evening washing, the water now tepid and shared among victors. Meals evolve into communal feasts after games, with turkey cooked in earth ovens, its smoky flavour permeating the air. Bones discarded into middens that archaeologists later sift for clues to diet and health, traces of parasites revealing the cost of feasting without modern sanitation. As evening falls, Kanich retires to his chamber, the jungle chorus rising, crickets, frogs, and the occasional jaguar's cough. He dines lightly on fruit and atoll, his attendants clearing platters that will be scrubbed tomorrow with river sand. Sleep claims him on his jaguar mat, dreams filled with glyphs and gods, his body a vessel for both the divine and the daily. His life, though elevated, echoes eggshells in its fundamentals, the splash of water, the scent of smoke, the itch of unwashed fabric. Threads in the grand weave of Maya existence. This noble's routine, a blend of splendor and struggle, highlights the society's layered world. As we step from Palenque's heights, let us delve into the medical and cultural beliefs that shape these practices, unveiling the mysteries behind their daily choices. Medical theories and hygiene beliefs in Maya society. Imagine yourself seated in the cool shade of a ceiba tree's vast canopy, its roots sprawling like ancient guardians across the limestone karst of the Yucatan Peninsula. The air is still, save for the occasional rustle of leaves in a gentle breeze, carrying the faint, sweet scent of wild orchids and the distant murmur of a cenote's waters. It is the classic Maya era, and we turn our gaze inward to the intricate web of beliefs and practices that govern the body in Maya society. Here, medicine was not a science divorced from the spiritual, but a profound tapestry woven from cosmology, herbal lore, and the rhythms of the natural world. Hygiene, in this context, was less about eradication of filth and more about harmony with the unseen forces that animated life and death. Let us wander through these ideas, drawing from archaeological whispers and cultural echoes, allowing the steady flow of this knowledge to ease your mind toward repose. At the core of Maya medical theory lay the concept of balance, a delicate equilibrium between the physical body, the soul's way, and the cosmos. The Maya viewed the human form as a microcosm of the universe, with its cavities and channels mirroring the caves, rivers, and stars above. Illness, including those arising from poor hygiene, was often attributed to disruptions in this balance. An excess of hot or cold energies, the intrusion of malevolent spirits, or the wrath of neglected deities. Picture H. Men, the Maya shaman healer, in a dimly lit hut, his face etched with the lines of wisdom gained from years of interpreting omens. He consults the Popol Vuh, the sacred book of creation, or casts beans and jade beads onto a woven mat to divine the cause of a patient's feverish skin rash, perhaps a sign that the gods demanded a cleansing ritual to restore harmony. Hygiene beliefs were deeply intertwined with these humoral-like principles, though distinct from European models. The Maya recognized four bodily directions, or essences: red second east, blood, white north, bone black west, decay, and yellow south, bile, each associated with cardinal points and seasons. An imbalance, say an overabundance of black, decay from unburied waste or stagnant water, could invite sorcery or disease. Thus, daily cleansing was ritualistic. Water from cenotes, seen as portals to the underworld Saibolbar, was not merely for washing but for communing with Chark, the rain god, whose tears purified the soul. Imagine Exshal, from our village scene, dipping her hands into the cenote at dawn, the water's cool embrace a prayer as much as a practical act, her murmured incantation blending with the drip of stalactites, believing it warded off the wind sickness that brought chills and sores. Archaeological evidence illuminates these practices with quiet clarity. Excavations at Koppen reveal caches of obsidian blades used for bloodletting, a common hygiene ritual where nobles pierce their skin to offer blood to ancestors, believing it cleansed spiritual impurities. The blades, sharp and black as night, were sterilized in copal smoke, their edges glinting in the firelight of temple altars. Nearby, in residential middens, trash heaps that serve as time capsules, archaeologists have unearthed yucca root fibers and lime plasters, remnants of soaps and skin treatments. A study of skeletal remains from Tikal shows high rates of dental caries from maize diets, treated with herbal poultices of wild tobacco pake, whose nicotine content acted as a mild antiseptic, though the plant's acrid smoke filled huts like a hazy veil, soothing infections but irritating eyes. The Maya approach to sanitation was pragmatic, shaped by the limestone landscape's scarcity of surface water. Villages clustered around cenotes, but these sacred pools doubled as baths and latrines, their depths hiding a grim reality. Waste was deposited in designated pits or thrown into undergrowth, where it decomposed into fertilizer for milpas, raised fields of maize and squash. The smell, a pungent mix of human refuse and rotting vegetation, was mitigated by scattering lime or ash, derived from burned shells, which neutralized odors and parasites. Yet, as bioarchaeological analysis from Lomanai indicates, hookworm and tapeworm eggs abound in coprolites, preserved feces, evidence of a cycle where hygiene efforts clashed with environmental limits. Picture a farmer, his hands caked in red soil, covering a latrine pit with earth at dusk, the act a quiet offering to the earth goddess Ixchel, transforming repulsion into renewal. Cultural texts, like the Madrid Codex, offer glimpses into these beliefs. Illustrated folios depict deities with perforated bodies, symbolizing the need for ritual piercing to release bad blood, a practice extended to everyday hygiene. A commoner might visit the H-men for a steam bath, the Temazcal-like structure heated with volcanic rocks and aromatic ceiba bark, sweat streaming like tears of purification. The air inside grows thick, almost tangible, with vapors of epizote and rue, herbs believed to expel evil winds that caused boils or fevers. Emerging, the bather's skin glistens, red from heat, a temporary cleanse that felt divine, though parasites lingered in the folds of unwashed cotton. For women, hygiene was tied to cycles of life and moon phases. Menstruation, viewed as a potent blood offering akin to royal piercings, required isolation in moon huts, where pads of soft moss or agave fiber absorbed flow, disposed of in sacred fires to avoid polluting the community. Childbirth attended by midwives with jade tools involved post-delivery rubs of salt and herbs to close the body, preventing spiritual leaks. These practices, while effective in their context, carried risks infections from unsterile tools, as seen in mummified remains with pelvic abscesses, a silent toll of tradition. Among the elite, hygiene veered toward the symbolic. A Hao Keyhole might anoint himself with balche, a fermented bark drink used medicinally, its honeyed tang applied to wounds as an antibiotic, derived from sacred trees. Palaces had private steam baths, their stones carved with glyphs invoking its Amna, the creator god, for healing. Yet, even here, the repulsive intruded elite diets of cacao and game led to gout, treated with poultices of squash leaves, their slimy texture a humble counter to grandeur. Broader cultural mysteries persist. Flying doctors of Maya lore, Shamans using hallucinogenic toad venom before alvarius for visions might diagnose hygiene-related ills through trances, prescribing sweat lodges or enemas of tobacco smoke. Archaeological finds of enema syringes from clay, used for ritual purging, suggest a belief in internal cleansing to align body and stars. At Chichen Itza, the sacred cenote yielded jade and gold offerings alongside human bones, hinting at sacrifices to appease water spirits for pure supplies, a profound, if dark, hygiene rite. These beliefs formed a soothing lattice, where the body's messiness was not reviled, but integrated into the cosmic dance. The H-men's chants, low and resonant, echoed through villages like a lullaby, affirming that balance could always be restored. As we leave the Ceba's shade, the herbal scents fading on the breeze, let us turn to the contrasts within Maya society, where nobles and commoners shared the same earth, but navigated its demands in markedly different ways. Hygiene among Maya nobles vs commoners. Imagine yourself standing at the heart of a bustling Maya city, perhaps Tikal in its classic period zenith around 700 CE, where the air hums with the sounds of commerce and ritual. The towering pyramids cast long shadows over the central plaza, their limestone steps gleaming under the tropical sun, while narrow paths lead to villages of thatched homes nestled in the jungle's embrace. Here, the daily lives of nobles and commoners unfold side by side, their routines shaped by stark contrasts in status, resources, and responsibilities, yet bound by the same environmental challenges and cultural beliefs. Hygiene, a thread weaving through both worlds, reveals a society where privilege elevated appearances but could not escape the gritty realities of the ancient Americas. Let us walk through this divided yet interconnected world, tracing the rhythms of cleanliness and survival, letting the steady cadence of their lives lull you into a state of calm. Begin with the noble class, the Ajor and their kin, who lived in stone palaces adorned with stucco friezes and shaded courtyards. Picture a noblewoman, Lady Chok, her name evoking the youthful maize goddess, rising in a spacious chamber where light filters through woven reed screens, casting dappled patterns on the polished limestone floor. Her morning begins with a ritual cleansing, attended by young women trained in the art of service. A jade basin, carved with glyphs of Chak, the rain god, holds water drawn from a private cistern, its surface faintly clouded with sediment, but scented with crushed marigold petals, believed to carry the sun's purifying energy. Lady Cock dips her hands and face into the cool water, the faint floral aroma mingling with the damp limestone scent of the palace walls. Her attendant dries her with a soft cotton cloth, dyed crimson with cochineal, a luxury that marks her status, though the cloth itself may carry the faint musk of previous users, as laundry is a laborious task even for the elite. Her attire is a testament to wealth but a challenge to maintain. Lady Chuk dons a huipil woven with intricate patterns of quetzal feathers and jade beads, its vibrant colours a symbol of divine favour. These garments, too precious to wash frequently, are brushed with palm fronds to dislodge dust, the soft rustle of feathers filling the air. Sweat and body oils accumulate in the fabric's folds, a reality masked by liberal applications of pom, a resin-based incense paste, rubbed into her skin and hair, its smoky sweetness clinging like a second skin. Her long hair, braided with shell ornaments, is combed with a polished bone tool, its teeth gliding through strands that itch from lice, a universal affliction. To soothe her scalp, she applies a paste of crushed avocado leaves, their creamy scent a faint comfort against the persistent irritation. In contrast, let us follow a commoner, a farmer named Balam, whose home lies on the city's edge, a modest structure of wattle and daub with a thatched roof. Balam rises from a reed mat, the earth floor beneath him cool but gritty with dust tracked him from the milpa fields. His morning hygiene is utilitarian, driven by necessity rather than ritual. He splashes his face and hands with water from a clay jar, filled from a communal cenote a half-mile away, its contents shared by dozens of households. The water, slightly brackish, leaves a mineral tang on his skin, and he wipes it with a rough magui, fibre cloth, its coarse texture scraping away dirt but chafing his hands, already calloused from wielding a digging stick. Soap is a rarity. If used, it's a gritty paste of yucca root, its starchy scent lingering as he shakes out his cotton loincloth, patched and faded from months of wear. Balam's clothing, a simple loincloth and a short cape for sun protection, is rarely washed, as water is reserved for drinking and cooking. He beats his garments against a stone, the dull thud echoing in the morning quiet. dislodging red soil and sweat stains but leaving a faint odor of toil. His hair, cropped short to avoid tangles in the fields, is combed with his fingers, and lice are a constant battle, addressed with a quick rub of chili paste, its sharp burn a fleeting deterrent. Unlike Lady Cook's perfumed elegance, Balaam's hygiene is a matter of survival, his body exposed to the jungle's heat, insects, and dust with little reprieve. Sanitation underscores this divide. In the palace, Lady Cook uses a private latrine, a stone-lined pit with a wooden seat, sprinkled with lime to dull the acrid smell of waste. Servants empty the pit into a designated midden, where waste is composted for royal gardens, a sacred act linking human output to the earth's fertility. Yet the system is imperfect. During rains, the pit overflows, its contents seeping into the courtyard's drainage channels, a faint ammonia scent rising with the humidity. Balaam's family, in contrast, shares a communal latrine at the village's edge, a shallow trench covered with palm leaves, its stench barely mitigated by ash scattered by children. Waste piles up, attracting flies, and the nearby cenote, used for both washing and waste disposal, carries a hidden burden of contamination, as evidenced by parasite eggs found in coprolites from sites like Copan. Meals further highlight the disparity. Lady Cook dines on a raised platform, served tamales of iguana and cacao, spiced atoll on jade plates, the food's rich aromas filling the air. Her attendants, their hands unwashed beyond a quick rinse, handle the meal, and the plates are cleaned with sand and water, leaving faint grease marks. Balaam's family gathers around a hearth, eating maize tortillas and beans from clay bowls, their fingers sticky with chili resin. The bowls, scrubbed with river pebbles, retain a patina of past meals, a subtle rancid note unnoticed in the daily grind. Both noble and commoner face dental issues. Skeletal remains from Tychel show rampant caries, but Lady checks access to H-men healers and herbal pastes of tobacco or mint offers slight relief, while Balaam relies on chewing sticks, his teeth worn from maize grit. Social interactions bridge these worlds yet underscore their differences. Lady Czech attends court, where nobles exchange gifts of obsidian mirrors and feather headdresses, their perfumed bodies masking the sweat of a crowded hall. The air, thick with copal and body odors, is a shared burden, as even the elite cannot escape the jungle's humidity. Balaam, visiting the market to trade maize for salt, brushes shoulders with merchants whose unwashed tunics carry the scent of fish or cacao. Fleas and lice leap freely in these spaces, and diseases like dysentery spread, with commoners bearing the brunt, as bioarchaeological data from Lamanai reveal higher infection rates in non-elite burials. Archaeological finds paint a vivid picture. Palace excavations at Palenque uncover jade combs and ceramic basins, their surfaces etched with glyphs of purity, while village middens yield broken pottery and maize cobs, layered with ash and waste. Latrine pits, both elite and common, contain parasite eggs, linking all to the same health risks. Court records on stela describe nobles' ritual baths, but the lack of sewage systems meant even palaces were not immune to overflow, their drains clogged with organic debris. The contrast is profound. Lady Chick's perfumed rituals elevate her above the commoners, yet both share the same cenote's waters, the same insects' bites, and the same earth's dust. This interplay of privilege and practicality defines Maya hygiene, a dance of status within a shared, often repulsive reality. As we leave Tychel's bustling heart, let us turn to a specific practice that shaped daily life across the Americas, one that blurred the lines between sacred and profane. Ritual sweat baths and purification in ancient American civilizations. Imagine yourself enveloped in a veil of warm, herbal steam, the air thick and enveloping like a gentle fog rolling off the misty highlands of Mesoamerica. The year is around 800 CE, and we step into a sweat bath, or temazcal, a domed structure of stone and clay tucked into the hillside near a Maya city like Yaxchilan. This is not merely a place of cleansing, but a sacred one, a portal to the earth's heart where body and spirit merge in purification. Across ancient American civilizations, from the Mayan Aztec to the Inca, and even the mound-building cultures of the Mississippian heartland, the ritual sweat bath was a cornerstone of hygiene, a practice shrouded in mystery and layered with cultural significance. Let us linger here, exploring its forms, meanings, and the archaeological echoes that reveal its role in daily and divine life, allowing the imagined warmth to seep into your muscles, easing you toward a profound, restful calm. In Maya society, the sweat bath was known as the pibna or temazcal, a word borrowed from Nahuatl meaning house of heat. Picture a small, circular chamber, its walls of smooth river stones mortared with lime plaster, the floor slightly concave to channel water and sweat toward a central drain. The entrance is low, forcing entrants to bow in humility as they crawl inside, leaving the outside world behind. At the center lies a hearth of volcanic rocks, heated for hours by attendants who layer on bundles of aromatic wood, copali resin, marigold leaves, and ceiba bark, until the air shimmers with heat and scent. The bather, perhaps our noble lady Chok, or the farmer Balam, sits cross-legged on a woven mat, the stones radiating warmth that penetrates skin and bone. Water is poured over the rocks with a gourd ladle, releasing clouds of steam laced with the earthy tang of rue and epizote, herbs chosen for their power to expel bad winds, malevolent spirits thought to lodge in the body, causing fevers, rashes, or the festering sores from unhealed wounds. The ritual unfolds slowly, a meditative sequence designed to mimic birth and rebirth. The bather sweats profusely, beads of perspiration tracing paths down their skin, carrying away impurities both physical and spiritual. Chants, low and rhythmic, fill the space. Invocations to Ixchel, the moon goddess of medicine, or to the rain god Chak, whose tears symbolize renewal. The heat builds, the air growing heavy, almost palpable, until the bather feels the boundaries of self dissolve, emerging red-skinned and glistening, reborn into the cool night air. This was not daily hygiene, but a periodic rite, perhaps monthly or before major ceremonies, a profound act of balance in a humoral worldview where heat countered cold ailments, and steam cleansed the soul's hidden crevices. Archaeological evidence brings this mystery to life with tangible whispers. Excavations at sites like Piedras Negras reveal Temazcal structures adjacent to elite residences, their floors stained with carbon from repeated firings and drains clogged with herbal residues. Chemical analysis of these residues, conducted in labs from the Smithsonian to the Instituto Nacional de Antropología y Historia, identifies compounds from Persea americana, avocado leaves, and Tagetes lucida, Mexican marigold, confirming their use in purification. In the Petén region, a temazcal at Aguateca yielded charred wood and copal lumps, its layout suggesting communal use. Nobles and commoners alike crawling through the same low door, a great equalizer in the face of divine heat. Skeletal remains from nearby tombs show healed fractures and reduced parasite loads post-ritual, hinting at the bath's practical benefits. Though the steam's humidity often bred fungal infections, a hidden cost etched in the bones. Turning to the Aztec Empire, the sweat bath evolved into the temazcal par excellence, a staple in Tenochtitlan's urban fabric. Imagine the floating city on Lake Texcoco, its Chinampas gardens mirroring the sky, and at the heart of a Calpulli neighborhood stands a public temazcal, its adobe dome whitewashed and etched with symbols of Tlaloc, the storm god. Midwives, known as Tlamochtquitl, oversaw these baths, using them for postpartum purification, new mothers entering days after birth, their bodies slathered in a paste of amaranth and lime to staunch bleeding and ward off infection. The steam, infused with pine needles and oak resin, carried a resinous sharpness that cleared sinuses and soothed labor-weary muscles. Aztec codices like the Codex Magliabechiano illustrate these scenes: women in fetal positions amid swirling vapors, midwives chanting to Tonantzin, the Earth Mother, the bath a rite of passage where blood and sweat mingled in sacred release. Hygiene here was communal and gendered. Men used temazcales for pre-battle cleansings, warriors emerging oiled with cacao butter, their skin taut and scented, ready for the obsidian, edged fray. Women, in contrast, tied the practice to fertility, bathing to align menstrual cycles with the moon's phases. Yet the repulsive lurked beneath the bath's drains, emptied into canals teeming with waste. An overuse led to scaly skin from mineral buildup, as described in Sahagun's Florentine Codex. Archaeological digs at the Templo Maya have uncovered temazcal fragments with lime coatings, their proximity to latrines underscoring the cycle: waste out, purity in. Coprolites from the site reveal reduced intestinal parasites among frequent bathers, a testament to steam's antimicrobial haze, though tuberculosis scars on ribs suggest airborne risks in crowded sessions. Further south, in the Inca heartland of the Andes, the sweat bath took a different form, adapted to the high altitudes and arid plateaus. Known as the Puric, or simply a hot stone bath, it was less domed enclosure and more open ritual, often in thermal springs or heated pools at sites like Machu Picchu. Picture an Inca noble, the Inca Supper, reclining in a stone basin fed by geothermic waters near Cuzco, the air crisp with the scent of eucalyptus leaves tossed onto hot rocks. The Incas, with their engineering prowess, channeled aqueducts to these baths. The water's sulphurous tang, a natural purifier believed to carry the essence of Pachamama, the Earth Mother. Bathing was a state affair, reserved for the elite, but extended to soldiers for endurance training. The heat-simulating battle's forge. Cultural lore, preserved in Garcilaso de Lo Vega's chronicles, describes these baths as elixirs for longevity, with attendants massaging in luta pasta, a mix of llama fat and coca leaves, to seal pores against mountain chills. Hygiene intertwined with empire building. Conquered peoples were mandated to adopt Inca baths, a subtle assimilation. Yet the cold nights bred chilblains, and unfiltered spring water harboured giardia, as skeletal evidence from Vilcabamba shows intestinal inflammation. Archaeological thermal complexes at Ollantaytambo reveal channeled stones with herbal char, their layouts aligning with solstice lines, a cosmic hygiene linking body to stars. Even in North America's Mississippian culture, around Coquia circa 1100 CE, sweat lodges echoed these traditions. Mound cities like Moundville featured clay-lined pits heated with birch branches, their smoke carrying the purifying scent of sweetgrass. Shamans led rites to expel ghost sickness, the steamer veil between worlds. Excavations yield lodge outlines with ash layers, pollen from medicinal plants like Eupatorium boneset, affirming the practice's reach across continents. These rituals, from Maya steam to Inca springs, embody a profound mystery, purification as a bridge between the repulsive and the revered, the body's filth transmuted into spiritual gold. The heat's embrace, the herbs whisper, the water's sigh, all conspired to cleanse, if only momentarily. As the steam fades and the cool air returns, let us follow this thread to a specific event that illuminated the depths of daily hygiene in one civilization's heart. The life and routines of an Aztec priest. Imagine yourself ascending the steep, blood-smeared steps of the Templo Mayor in Tenochtitlan, the heart of the Aztec Empire around 1420 CE. As the first rays of sun gild the twin pyramids dedicated to Huitzilopochtli and Tlaloc, the air is crisp with the highland chill, carrying the faint, metallic tang of recent offerings and the smoky veil of copal incense wafting from braziers below. We follow a priest, Quetzalcoatl, named for the feathered serpent god, a high-ranking Tlamatquaque whose life was a ceaseless vigil of ritual, austerity, and the intimate dance with the divine. His days, woven from threads of devotion and discipline, offer a window into the Aztec priesthood's world, where hygiene was not mere cleanliness, but a sacred armor against the chaos of the cosmos. Let us shadow him through his routines, from dawn's ablutions to night's reflections, allowing the steady pulse of his chants to carry you deeper into tranquility. Quetzalcoatl's quarters lie within the Comacac, the elite school, temple where priests, trained from boyhood, a compound of whitewashed adobe walls enclosing courtyards of jade mosaics and feather banners. He rises before dawn on a reed mat atop a low stone platform, the floor scattered with corn husks from last night's meagre meal. The air in his cell is cool and dry, scented with the faint mustiness of stored codices, bark paper books inscribed with glyphs of omens and stars. Sleep, for a priest, is fitful, interrupted by dreams interpreted as messages from Tezcatlipoca, the smoking mirror god, and his body bears the marks of devotion scars from auto, sacrifice, where thorns pierced tongue or ears to draw blood for the gods. Awakening, he feels the night's stiffness in his joints, a reminder of the penances that harden both flesh and spirit. His morning hygiene begins with purification, a ritual that sets the tone for the day. Quetzalcoatl crawls into the adjacent Temazcal, its low dome forcing humility as he enters the womb like heat. Attendant novices, their heads shaven and faces painted black with suits symbolizing humility, have already heated the volcanic stones with bundles of pine and copal, the resin's sweet smoke curling like serpents in the dim light. He sits, knees to chest, as they pour water infused with lime and epazote over the rocks, the steam exploding in a herbal haze that stings the eyes and opens the pores. Sweat streams down his skin, dark from sun and ash, carrying away the grime of yesterday's rituals, dried blood, temple dust, and the oily residue of sacrificial fats. The heat builds a meditative furnace where he chants to Siptotec, the flayed lord, invoking renewal as his body glistens, red and raw. Emerging after what feels like an eternity, he rinses in a stone basin with water from Lake Texcoco, its brackish mineral taste a humble counterpoint to the steam's intensity. His skin, now taut and scented with herbs, is patted dry with a magui fibre cloth, coarse yet cleansing, leaving faint red welts that fade like echoes of penance. Attire follows, a deliberate donning of sanctity. Quetzalcoatl wraps himself in a black cotton tilma, unbleached and heavy, dyed with indigo from distant coasts, a garment that absorbs sweat but repels the profane. It is girded with a rope of human hair, twisted from offerings, its faint, organic scent a constant reminder of mortality. His hair, long and matted from neglect, is combed with a wooden comb carved with serpent motifs, parting it to reveal a scalp scarred from ritual scouring. Lice even for priests are a trial. He applies a paste of crushed nopal cactus, its slimy gel soothing the itch while the spine's residue eat as pests, the air filling with a green, vegetal aroma. His feet, calloused from barefoot processions, are dusted with ash from sacred fires, believed to ground him to the earth's pulse. Teeth, blackened by a lifetime of pulque and cacao, are scraped with a twig of oak pine, its resinous bite-freshening breath stained by incense and blood. The morning meal is ascetic, a contrast to the feasts of nobles. In the Kalmakak's refectory, Quetzalcoatl eats alone or with fellow priests, breaking his fast with a toll thinned with water, its bland maize warmth a denial of fleshly indulgence. Insects, ants drawn to the gruel, are brushed away, a minor repulsion in a life of greater trials. The clay bowls, etched with glyphs of maize gods, are rinsed in a communal trough, water reused for the gardens, leaving a faint starch film that speaks to the cycle of sustenance and waste. As the sun rises, Quetzalcoatl ascends to the temple platform, his bare feet gripping the slick steps worn by countless processions. The air grows thicker with copal and the underlying coppery note of heart offerings from the night's sacrifices, lives given to sustain the sun's journey. His duties begin with sweeping the pyramid's summit, a symbolic cleansing using a resplendent Quetzal feather broom, its soft sweep dislodging dried blood and petals from marigold wreaths. This act, performed naked save for a loincloth, exposes his body to the wind, gooseflesh rising as he chants to sustain cosmic order. Hygiene here is performative. The broom's feathers, iridescent yet fragile, are oiled with turkey fat post-use, their sheen a mirror to the priest's own anointed form. Midday brings consultations in the temple's oratory, where pilgrims seek divinations. A merchant, his hands rough from market toil, kneels, his unwashed tunic reeking of fish and sweat. Quetzalcoatl, unflinching, pierces his own calf with a maguey thorn, blood dripping onto paper to read the gods' will, the sharp pain a shared burden. The oratory's air, heavy with body odours and incense, is ventilated by reed fans wielded by novices, their rhythmic swish a soothing undercurrent. Sanitation in the temple complex is engineered yet strained. Stone drains channel rainwater and ritual runoff to Chanampas below, but clogs from flower debris and blood lead to overflows, a faint rot rising during monsoons. Afternoons involve teaching in the Kalmakak, where young novices learn glyphs and astronomy by scratching on clay tablets, their small hands inked with cochineal, leaving red stains that require abrasive sand scrubs. Quetzalcoatl demonstrates bloodletting on a model of a gev, the tool's edge glinting, emphasizing hygiene through fire, sterilization, blades passed over flames to purify, though soot blackens fingers. The classroom's dust, kicked up by bare feet, settles on skin and scrolls, a constant veil that even priests cannot fully escape. Evenings culminate in the great rites, where Quetzalcoatl leads the evening sacrifice. Picture the pyramid's apex at dusk, the sky bruising purple as captives, adorned yet doomed, are led up. The priest's knife, obsidian and keen, slices with precision, hearts offered smoking to Huitzilopochtli, their warmth against his palms a visceral communion. Post-ritual, he bathes in a sacred pool, water drawn from a spring dedicated to Chalkutlicue, the jade-skirted goddess, its cool flow washing away gore, though the metallic scent lingers in his nostrils. The pool, shared by the priesthood, carries traces of previous cleansings, a communal purity that binds them in duty. Quetzalcoatl's life, a relentless cycle of heat, blood, and chant, embodies the Aztec priest's role as mediator between worlds. Archaeological evidence from the Templo Maya, obsidian blades with blood residues, Temazcal domes with herbal char, confirms these routines, while codices like the Codex Mendoza illustrate priests in tilmas, their scarred bodies icons of devotion. Skeletal analyses reveal arthritis from penances, dental wear from ritual fasting, yet also lower parasite loads from frequent steam baths, a quiet victory amid the repulsive. As night falls and Quetzalcoatl retires to his mat, the temple's distant drums fading, his routines, purifying yet punishing, reflect a life where hygiene was holiness incarnate. As we descend the pyramid steps, let us explore the broader social fabric, contrasting the priestly elite with the laborers who sustained the empire's splendor. Aztec nobles vs laborers, imagine yourself wandering the labyrinthine canals of Tenochtitlan, the Aztec capital that floated like a vast, engineered dream upon the waters of Lake Texcoco around 1500 CE. The air is alive with the lap of canoe paddles, the distant toll of temple drums, and the mingled scents of Chinampa gardens, rich earth, ripening maize, and the faint, fishy undercurrent of the lake's shallow depths. In this bustling metropolis of aqueducts and markets, the lives of nobles and laborers diverged like the city's radiating causeways, yet converged in the shared pulse of empire and environment. Nobles, the Pipiltin, dwelled in splendor amid feather, mosaic palaces, their days a tapestry of ritual and repose, while laborers, the Tlacotin and common Meshilton, toiled in the mud and markets, their existence a grind of necessity and endurance. Hygiene, that quiet undercurrent of daily survival, highlighted these divides, a privilege for the few, a practicality for the many, both ensnared by the same watery, waste-laden world. Let us trace their paths from dawn's first light to evening's hush, allowing the gentle rhythm of their routines to wash over you like a soothing canal current. Start with the noble class, the Pilis and their extended kin, who inhabited the city's core near the sacred precinct. Picture Lady Xochitl, a noblewoman of the Eagle Knight lineage, awakening in a spacious adobe chamber within a Calpulli compound, its walls frescoed with murals of Quetzalcoatl in emerald greens and solar golds. The floor, a mosaic of polished stone, is warmed by the low glow of a brazier burning oak pine, its resinous smoke curling lazily to mingle with the night's lingering dampness from the lake breezes. She rises from a platform bed draped in cotton mantles dyed with purpura shellfish, a deep, regal purple that whispers of coastal tribute. The fabric soft, but heavy with the subtle musk of body oils absorbed over days of wear. Nobles like Xochitl changed garments weekly, if at all, as the dye's vibrancy was prized over frequent washing, and the air in her chamber carries that faint, intimate scent, tempered by a pomander of copal and vanilla pods hung from the rafters. Her morning ablutions are a measured ceremony, attended by a retinue of female servants, the Siwapili. A low copper basin, imported from Mayan and etched with glyphs of Chalchiotlicu, the jade, water goddess, is filled with water channeled from the city's aqueducts, clearer than the lake's murk but still laced with a faint algal tang from the reservoirs. Xochitl dips her hands and face, the water's cool kiss a luxury, then anoints her skin with a paste of cacao butter and amaranth flour, its rich, chocolatey aroma clinging like a protective veil, believed to seal the pores against Havel airs. This unguent leaves her skin gleaming, but traps dust and sweat, a glossy illusion of purity. Her hair, long and oiled with turkey fat for shine, is combed with a shell comb, its pearls clicking softly, while an attendant parts it to apply a rinse of boiled nopal juice, slimy and green, scented, to deter the lice that even noble scalps harboured in the humid lowlands. Oral care follows a twig of copal tree, chewed to a frayed brush, scrapes her teeth, darkened by a diet of sweet tamales and pulp, the resin's bitterness a ritual bite that freshens her breath for courtly discourse. In stark contrast, envision a labourer, Tlacoatl, a Chinampa farmer from the city's southern reaches, stirring on a reed mat in a modest one-room hut of wattle and thatch, open to the canal's misty breath. The floor is packed earth, damp from the night's humidity, scattered with corn husks and the faint, yeasty smell of fermenting atoll residue. Tlacoatl's sleep is broken by the pre-dawn call of herons, his body aching from yesterday's toil, marked by coluses and the red welts of insect bites. His hygiene is swift and functional, dictated by the lake's edge just beyond his door. He splashes brackish water over his face and torso from a clay ola, its contents drawn from the canal and carrying the subtle rot of submerged vegetation and distant waste. No soaps or unguents here. He rubs his skin with handfuls of wet sand, gritty and abrasive, dislodging the night's sweat and field mud, the coarse scrape leaving his skin raw but invigorated. His loincloth and cape, woven of coarse magui fibre, are shaken out and donned without ceremony, their fibres stiff with dried salt from sweat evaporation, reeking faintly of fish bait and earth. Hair, cropped short for practicality, is raked with fingers, lice crushed between nails, a daily hunt amid the itch, while his teeth, filed flat in youth as a mark of manhood, are cleaned with a finger dipped in chili water, its fiery sting a jolt that clears the mouth's maze-stuck film. Sanitation amplifies the chasm. Xochitl's compound boasts private latrines, stone seats over deep pits lined with lime, their waste hauled by servants to the chinampas as fertilizer, a noble cycle turning repulsion to bounty. The pits, though covered, emit a muffled earthy odor during dry spells, when evaporation concentrates the ammonia and servants sprinkle marigold petals to mask it, their floral sweetness a fragile courtesy. Tlachtol's family shares a communal trench at the Calpulli's edge, a shallow dig in the soft lakeshore mud, screened by reed mats but open to the elements. Waste is covered with soil daily, but rains turn it to slurry, the stench rising sharp and fecal, mingling with the canal's fishy reek as it leaches into the water used for irrigation and drinking. Flies swarm in the heat, and the constant proximity breeds dysentery, its watery grip a familiar foe. Treated with herbal teas of epizote that twist the gut further before relief. Meals underscore the divide, yet share the empire's staples. Xochitl breaks fast in her courtyard, reclining on a cushioned bench as servants present jade platters of turkey mole, its complex sauce of chilies and chocolate steaming gently, the air rich with spices that overpower the faint undernote of unwashed serving hands. Goblets of frothy cacao spiced with vanilla are sipped from gold-rimmed vessels, cleaned with fine cloths but retaining a subtle cocoa residue. Tlachtol eats standing by his chinampa, tearing maize tortillas to scoop beans and lake fish, his fingers greasy with oil, the food's simple earthiness unadorned. His clay bowls, shared with kin, are scoured with corncobs and canal water, leaving a gritty patina that harbours bacteria, a silent contributor to the boils and fluxes that plague labourers. Social spheres intersect at the markets and festivals, where hygiene's contrasts play out. Xochitl glides through the Tayan Quisli, the great marketplace, her perfumed form parting crowds of merchants whose unwashed bodies carry the odours of copal, cacao, and sweat-soaked cotton. She haggles for turquoise beads, her attendants fanning away the press of odours, while Tlachtol, a vendor of amaranth, stands elbow to elbow with fishmongers, his skin slick with canal spray and the press of bodies, fleas jumping freely in the throng. Festivals like Toxcal bring unity and excess nobles in feathered finery processed to the temple, their oiled skins gleaming, while labourers, dusted with temple ash, join the chants, their calloused feet trading the same blood, sticky stones. Archaeological layers reveal this duality. Excavations at the Templo Maya yield noble grave goods, jade combs, copper basins with verdigris patina, beside labourer middens of broken olas and maize cobs laced with parasite eggs. Chinampa soils analysed for phosphates show heavy human waste enrichment, fueling the floating gardens but perpetuating contamination cycles. Codices like the Codex Borgia depict nobles in baths, servants toiling nearby, a visual hymn to hierarchy's hygiene. In this watery empire, nobles like Xochitl floated above the mire on privilege's current, while labourers like Tlachtol waded through it, their lives a submerged struggle. Yet both were buoyed by the same lake, their routines a shared ebb and flow of cleanliness and compromise. As the sun dips toward the horizon, casting golden ripples on the canals, let us turn to the unearthed secrets that illuminate sanitation's hidden labours across these civilizations. Sanitation systems and waste management in Aztec cities. Imagine yourself gliding silently in a dugout canoe through the labyrinth of Tenochtitlan's canals, the water lapping gently against the hull as the midday sun filters through a haze of mist rising from the lake's surface. It is the height of the Aztec Empire, around 1450 CE, and the city sprawls before you, a marvel of human ingenuity. Its island heart connected by causeways to the mainland, its chinampas floating gardens yielding abundance from the shallow, nutrient-rich waters. Yet beneath this engineered paradise lies a hidden underbelly, the relentless management of waste, a daily battle against the encroaching tide of human refuse that threaten to swamp the very foundations of urban life. Sanitation systems, those quiet architects of survival, were as ingenious as the pyramids yet fraught with the era's repulsive realities, overflowing pits, contaminated waters, and the ever-present hum of flies drawn to decay. Let us navigate these waters, uncovering the archaeological mysteries and cultural practices that sustained the city, allowing the soft ripple of the canal to soothe your thoughts into a deepening calm. At the core of Aztec sanitation was the lake itself, Lake Texcoco, a vast, brackish basin that both nourished and challenged the city. The Aztecs, arriving as nomadic Chichimecs in the 14th century, transformed this marshy expanse into a metropolis of 200,000 souls through dikes, aqueducts, and raised fields. Waste management began at the household level, where families used clay or stone-lined latrines, simple pits dug into the soft Chinampa soil or the island's fill. Picture a commoner like Tlacotl, from Our Labourer's Tale, squatting over such a pit in the dim light of his hut, the wooden cover lifted just enough to allow the soft plop of waste into the darkness below. The pit, about 3 feet deep and lined with lime plaster to reduce seepage, was sprinkled daily with quicklime derived from burned shells, its caustic powder neutralizing odors and breaking down organic matter. The air in the cramped space carried a sharp, chemical bite mingled with the underlying earthy rot, a scent that permeated the thatch walls and lingered on clothing long after. For nobles like Lady Xochitl, sanitation was elevated to semi-ritual status. Her compound's latrine was a more elaborate affair, a raised stone platform with a seat of polished basalt, over a chute that funneled waste into a covered cesspit connected to the city's drainage network. Servants, clad in simple loincloths, emptied these pits at night using reed baskets, hauling the sludge to the Chinampas where it was spread as fertilizer, a sacred recycling that turned human excrement into the black earth that enriched the maize fields. This practice, rooted in the belief that waste carried the earth's fertile essence, was codified in the Codex Mendoza, where glyphs depict labourers transporting night soil under moonlit skies. Yet the process was far from clean baskets leaked, staining the carriers' hands and feet with a viscous slurry, and the faint ammonia whiff trailed them through the canals, a nocturnal perfume of the empire's underclass. The city's grander systems were feats of hydraulic engineering, mysteries unravelled by modern archaeology. Causeways like the one to Iztapalapa doubled as aqueducts, their stone channels bringing fresh water from Chapultepec springs, clear and cool, a lifeline against the lake's salinity. Wastewaters, however, flowed in separate conduits, open ditches along streets, swept daily by at-courtly cleaners, whose reed brooms gathered debris into reed-wrapped bundles for lake disposal. Excavations at the Metro Balderas site in modern Mexico City have unearthed these ditches, their sides lined with volcanic horizontal stone, clogged with layers of pottery shards, fish bones, and coprolites, fossilized feces teeming with maize fibers and parasite eggs like those of Ascaris lumbricoids, the roundworm that plagued Aztec bellies. Chemical analysis of these sediments reveals high phosphate levels from human waste, a testament to the system's scale, yet also its limits during floods, dikes breached, mixing sewage with drinking water in a toxic brew that bred cholera. Like fluxes, cultural attitudes toward waste were layered with symbolism, transforming repulsion into reverence. The Aztecs saw excrement as tied to the underworld, a gift from Tel-Loc's watery realm that fed the surface world. Rituals honored this cycle during the month of Huitzilopochtli. Priests scattered sacred ash mixed with waste over fields, chanting to Sipe Totec for renewal. The blend's pungent earthiness a holy incense. Household middens, trash heaps outside homes, were not mere dumps but layered archives, where broken metates and obsidian flakes mingled with food scraps, ritually burned periodically to appease spirits. For the elite, waste management included scented absorbers in latrines, marigold petals and pine needles were strewn, their floral sharpness cutting the fecal reek, while nobles used portable clay chamber pots, emptied discreetly into canals at dawn, their glazes etched with protective glyphs. Archaeological deep dives reveal the human cost. At the Templo Maya, a sinkhole excavation yielded a black layer, a stratum of compacted waste from the sacred precinct, rich in copal lumps and bloodied feathers from sacrifices, interspersed with latrine overflows that carried ritual gore into the streets. Bioarchaeological studies of skeletons from the site showed dental abscesses from contaminated water and intestinal scarring from chronic diarrhea, yet also evidence of lime's antimicrobial effects in reduced bacterial loads. In the Chinampas, dredged canals have preserved pollen from herbal laxatives like Pistacia mexicana, used to purge systems before bathing, a cultural counter to the waste cycle. Night soil collectors, the unsung Tlacomiahua, navigated the canals in torchlit canoes, their loads sloshing softly as they poled toward peripheral marshes. Their lives were a study in endurance, skin chapped from lime exposure, lungs scarred from dust, yet they were revered as guardians of fertility, offered cacao by grateful farmers. Floods, however, turned heroes to victims. The 1449 deluge, chronicled in the Annales de Cortitlan, overwhelmed dikes, flooding streets with sewage that drowned hundreds and left the city fated for months. A grim reminder of nature's override. In Inca parallels, aqueducts like those at Tipon channeled waste to terraced fields, but Aztec ingenuity shone in urban density. These systems, balancing on the knife edge of collapse, sustained a civilization where waste was not waste but wealth recycled. As your canoe drifts toward the city's edge, the water's gentle murmur fading the day's clamour, let us turn to a figure whose courtly life encapsulated the empire's hygienic contradictions. The courtly routines of Moctezuma II. Imagine yourself stepping lightly across the polished basalt floors of the imperial palace in Tenochtitlan, the air heavy with the mingled scents of blooming jasmine from the hanging gardens, and the ever-present undercurrent of copal incense drifting from distant altars. It is the early 16th century, the zenith of Aztec power under Moctezuma II, the ninth Tlatoani, whose reign from 1502 to 1520 blended divine authority with the meticulous orchestration of courtly life. Moctezuma, known as Motokazomatzokiyotzin, the angry young lord, was a figure of profound contradiction, a ruler who commanded tribute from distant provinces, yet whose daily routines were a delicate balance of opulence, ritual, and the inescapable realities of bodily maintenance in a city built on water and waste. His life, chronicled in the fragmented accounts of Spanish conquistadors and surviving Aztec codices, offers an intimate portrait of elite hygiene amid empire's grandeur. Let us follow him through a single day, from the quiet stirrings of dawn to the reflective hush of evening, allowing the measured cadence of his world to envelop you in a soothing, historical embrace. Moctezuma's private chambers lie within the vast palace complex, a labyrinth of courtyards, aviaries, and zoos that sprawled across the island's northern quarter. He awakens not on a simple mat, but upon a raised dais covered in layers of fine cotton mantles and jaguar skins imported from the southern frontiers, their pelts soft yet harbouring the faint, animalic musk of preserved hides stored in cedar chests. The room is dimly lit by the first light filtering through reed screens woven with quetzal feathers, casting iridescent patterns on walls frescoed with scenes of his predecessor's conquests. Servants, eunuchs trained from childhood in the art of silence and discretion, approach with the soft pad of bare feet, their presence announced only by the gentle clink of jade ornaments. Moctezuma stirs, his body marked by the night's immobility, a slight stiffness in limbs accustomed to processions, and the subtle itch of skin where sweat has dried beneath his tilma. Sleep for the emperor was a guarded affair, his dreams interpreted by Tonalpoqui astrologers as omens from the stars, but his awakening is a ritual unto itself, a transition from the dream world to the divine duties of rule. Hygiene commences with a purification that underscores his semi-divine status. 2 attendants, their hands washed in a preliminary basin of spring water, assist him into a private temazcal adjoining his chambers. A compact dome of whitewashed adobe, its interior warmed to a hazy glow by preheated volcanic rocks. The air inside builds quickly, thick with steam as novices pour infusions of pine needles, lime, and sacred rue over the stones, the herbal sharpness cutting through the initial dryness like a whispered incantation. Moctezuma sits, knees drawn up in fetal pose, allowing the heat to coax sweat from his pores, each droplet a symbolic shedding of mortal burdens. The steam clings to his skin, dark from ritual ash and sun, carrying away the night's residues. Traces of cacao from evening libations, the faint oily film of perfumed unguents applied before bed. Chants, low and resonant, invoke Chalcalicue, the water goddess, as beads of perspiration trace paths down his back, pooling at the base of his spine before draining through a small stone conduit to the palace gardens below. The ritual lasts perhaps a half hour, the heat's embrace both punishing and purifying, emerging him red-skinned and invigorated, wrapped in a fresh tilma of the finest cotton, its weave so fine it whispers against his damp flesh. Post-bath, the anointing begins, a layered application of scents and salves that masks the human beneath the god. An attendant rubs his body with a paste of cacao butter blended with ground amaranth and vanilla pods, the mixture's rich, chocolatey warmth sealing his skin against the miasmas of the city air. This unguent, believed to carry the essence of Xochiquetzal, the flower goddess, leaves a subtle sheen, but its thickness traps the steam's moisture, fostering a faint clamminess by midday. His hair, long and bound in a topknot adorned with turquoise plugs, is combed with a comb of polished obsidian, its edge gliding through strands oiled with turkey fat for luster. Lice, even for an emperor, required vigilance, a discreet application of chili, infused nopal gel, slimy and burning, deters the pests, the air filling with a spicy, vegetal tang that lingers like a protective aura. Oral hygiene follows tradition. A twig of copal wood, frayed at the end, scrapes his teeth, stained from lifelong indulgence in pulque and tamales. The resin's bitterness, a daily penance that freshens breath for the audiences to come. Attire is a ceremony of power, each garment a tribute from vassal states. Moctezuma dons a loincloth of iridescent quetzal feathers, wrapped with a belt of gold and jade, followed by a mantle of cotton dyed in the imperial scarlet from cochineal insects harvested in the lowlands. These fineries, symbols of his dominion, are aired nightly but washed sparingly, as water could dough the dye's vibrancy, a deliberate choice where appearance trumped sanitation. The fabric, heavy and unbreathable, absorbs sweat quickly in the highland sun, its inner layers darkening with use, masked by the liberal dusting of powdered copal resin that clings to the folds like fine dust. Footwear, if worn, consists of low sandals of woven magui, their soles caked with palace dust, but Moctezuma often goes barefoot within his quarters, his feet callosed yet pedicured with pumice stones smoothed by lake water, a subtle exfoliation that leaves them soft for symbolic contact with the earth. The morning meal is served in the antechamber, a vast hall open to a courtyard where macaws call from aviaries stocked with tribute birds. Attendants present gold platters laden with delicacies, tamales stuffed with pheasant and wild turkey, spiced with chilies from Texcoco and wrapped in corn husks steamed over scented herbs. Atole frothed with cacao, its bitter froth a noble's elixir, sipped from vessels of beaten gold polished to a mirror sheen. Moctezuma eats sparingly, as befits a divine vessel, using jade spoons or his fingers, the food's richness tempered by ritual fasting on certain days. The platters, cleaned with fine linens dipped in rosewater imported from the coast, retain faint grease traces, a subtle residue unnoticed amid the aromas of vanilla and smoke. Servants, their hands rinsed in a side basin, handle the vessels, but the water's reuse leaves a cloudy film, a quiet imperfection in the opulence. As the sun climbs, Moctezuma's day unfolds in audiences and rituals that test the limits of hygiene in a crowded court. He receives provincial lords in the great hall, their unwashed forms, dusty from road travel, scented with road-weary sweat, kneeling to offer tribute of feathers, jade, and slaves. The air thickens with body odours and the cloying sweetness of pomanders clutched by nobles, while Moctezuma, enthroned on a seat of gold and serpentine, maintains composure, his perfumed form a beacon of order. Sanitation in the palace is meticulous, yet strained latrines of carved stone, flushed with aqueduct water, drained to hidden channels, but the volume of courtiers leads to overflows, a faint sewage whiff rising through grates during peak hours. Servants, clad in plain cotton, empty chamber pots of fine pottery, used by the emperor for nocturnal needs, into the canals at dawn, their contents a nutrient slurry for the royal chinampas. Afternoons bring processions to the Templo Mayor, where Moctezuma ascends the pyramid steps, his sandals left at the base, feet gripping the blood, slick stones in barefoot reverence. The climb, steep and exposing, leaves his soles grimed with sacrificial residue, a sacred dirt-washed-away post, right in a basin of holy water from the spring of Chapultepec. Evenings wind with feasts, where the emperor dines on exotic fare, iguana in mole, lake eels grilled with epazote, the hall's air alive with music, and the subtle reek of spilled pulque soaking into the reed-strewn floors. Hygiene here is communal. Servants fan away smoke and odours, but the closeness breeds shared afflictions, fleas from tribute animals, coughs from the lake's mists. Archaeological echoes from the palace site, now beneath Mexico City's ZT Carlo, reveal jade basins with wear grooves, feather dusters for sweeping, and latrine chutes with lime incrustations. Spanish accounts, like those of Bernal Dice's Del Castillo, describe Moctezuma's baths and perfumes, yet note the court's underlying filth, a cultural clash. Skeletal remains from elite tombs show gout from rich diets treated with herbal rubs, while dental analyses reveal sugar-induced decay despite cacao rinses. Moctezuma's routines, a symphony of splendor shadowed by necessity, paint a ruler both exalted and earthbound, his hygiene a veil over the empire's pulsing life. As twilight settles over the lake, let us explore the fragrant defenses that warded off the daily assaults on cleanliness. The use of scents and herbs in Inca hygiene practices. Imagine yourself perched on a terraced ledge high in the Andes, the crisp mountain air laced with the faint, alpine sharpness of ichu grass swaying in the wind as the sun dips low over the jagged peaks of the Vilcabamba Range. It is the height of the Inca Empire, around 1450 CE, under the reign of Pachacuti, and we turn our senses to the aromatic world of Inca hygiene, a realm where scents were not mere adornments, but sacred mediators between the body and the cosmos, woven into the fabric of daily life and ritual. The Inca, masters of their highland domain, harnessed the earth's bounty of herbs, resins, and minerals to combat the chill of altitude, the grit of labor, and the unseen threats of illness. These practices, preserved in the oral traditions transcribed by chroniclers like Felipe Guaman Poma de Ayala and unearthed in archaeological troves, reveal a culture where fragrance was a form of devotion, a shield against the repulsive undercurrents of sweat, soil, and sickness. Let us breathe in this world, exploring its layers slowly, letting the imagined whiffs of coca and muja carry you on a gentle, winding path toward repose. In Inca society, hygiene was inseparable from haka, the sacred essence that animated all things, and scents were potent carriers of this vitality. The body, seen as a vessel for Sami good energy and vulnerable to Huni bad energy, required aromatic interventions to maintain harmony with Pachamama, the Earth Mother. Daily routines began with the application of herbal pastes, crafted from plants gathered in the empire's diverse Alices kinship-based communities. Picture a noblewoman, Sari, in the shadow of Cusco's Coricancha temple, her morning ablutions unfolding in a stone chamber warmed by a clay brazier. An attendant, a Kalaki trained in the quipu of herbal knowledge, grinds leaves of munar, a wild mint endemic to the highlands, in a mortar of polished andesite, its pestle thudding rhythmically like a distant heartbeat. The resulting paste, blended with llama fat rendered from sacrificial animals, yields a balm of sharp, camphor-like freshness that Sari rubs into her hands, face, and feet. This unguent, applied after a splash of water from a silver puma-shaped vessel, cleanses by drawing out impurities, its minty vigor believed to repel the mountain's cold winds that brought chills and festering sores. For the common runacuna, like a terrace farmer named Huanca, the practice was earthier but no less vital. In his Cholpa-style hut near Ollantaytambo, Huanca rises to the rooster's call, dipping his fingers into a communal clay pot of wera infusion. Mugwort boiled in spring water, its bitter, herbaceous steam rising like a morning prayer. He smears the cooled liquid over his skin, the herb's astringent bite cutting through the night's accumulated sweat and the red dust of the fields, a simple act that aligns his labourer's body with the sun's ascent. Unlike the noble's perfumed excesses, Huanca's scents are functional muda chewed as a breath freshener, its leaves releasing a eucalyptus tang that masks the maize and quinoa stuck between teeth filed with coca for endurance. Oral hygiene, rudimentary yet ritualistic, involved rubbing gums with katu twigs, their fibrous ends frayed to scrape plaque, the wood's subtle resinous flavour a daily communion with the apus, the mountain spirits. Archaeological evidence breathes life into these practices, unearthing the Inca's aromatic arsenal from the dry soils of the Sacred Valley. Excavations at Machu Picchu, led by Hiram Bingham and later refined by Peruvian teams, have revealed stone mortars and pestles encrusted with residues of Minthostachys mollis munave, identified through gas chromatography, mass spectrometry in labs from Yale to Lima. These tools, found in elite Qualca's storerooms, cluster with bundles of dried Paco epizotive, its anthelmintic properties confirmed by botanical studies linking it to reduced parasite loads in Inca mummies. In the Tomb of the Sea or Disciple, though Mocha, its influence echoed in Inca rites. A gold snuff tube contained traces of coca leaves mixed with lime paste, used for nasal hygiene to clear sinuses against altitude sickness. The alkaloid rush a purifying jolt. At Chocorao, terraced platforms yielded ceramic vessels with solidified lutar, a fragrant mud from sacred springs, slathered on skin to soothe rashes from terrace toil, its mineral earth scent a grounding embrace. Cultural lore, captured in Guam Poma's Nueva Cronica Wyben Gobiano, describes scents as extensions of imperial power. The Sapa Inca, divine descendant of Inti the sun god, was bathed in yara essence. Jasmine, like flowers from the cloud forests, its floral sweetness applied by Akla priestesses in the Aklawasi, a house of chosen women, symbolizing purity for the empire's heart. Commoners, in Mitalaba rotations, carried sara pouches of cinnamon bark to chew during hauls on the kapak the royal road, its spicy warmth warding off fatigue and oral decay. Rituals amplified these uses during Inti Raymi, the June solstice festival. Participants smeared cherry potato vine resin on their bodies, its sticky, piney aroma a collective shield against the Supay, demons of misfortune, that lurked in the shadows of Cusco's plazas. The repulsive intertwined with the revered, as scents masked but did not erase the era's grit. Highland cold-bred chilblains treated with cantuta flower infusions, their vivid red petals crushed into oils that stained skin like war paint. The flowers honeyed note a balm over cracked heels from sandal-worn paths. Dental issues from gritty quinoa and coca abrasion were soothed with huara caspi bark rinses, its numbing astringency a mercy for obsessed gums, though chronic use led to enamel erosion, as seen in cranial analyses from Ancan mummies. Wastes odours, from terraced latrines flushed by aqueducts, were combated with pure grass burned as fumigants, its smoky sharpness purifying air in cancha compounds, yet the underlying fecal tang persisted in the thin atmosphere. Inca expansion spread these practices conquered Hyros adopted muja bombs, a subtle cultural tether. At Pisac, market excavations yield amulets of Palo Santo wood, burned for its cetrus, woody smoke to cleanse homes of Huni, their charred fragments a testament to daily exorcisms. Bioarchaeological insights from Purachuco, Huaycarones show lower respiratory infections among scent users, the herbs volatiles acting as natural antimicrobials, though overuse caused allergic rashes, a hidden toll etched in desiccated skin. These aromatic rites, from minty pastes to resinous smokes, wove a fragrant veil over Inca life, turning the body's baseness into a symphony of sanctity. The wind carries their echoes now, faint and fading, as we leave the Andes heights for the contrasting lives at the empire's base. The daily struggles of an Inca farmer. Imagine yourself descending from the lofty terraces of the sacred valley, the air growing thinner and sharper with each step down the winding Chaki-Takana path, until you reach the shadowed folds of a Pun Run, a communal field cluster where the Alu, the Inca's kinship-based farming collective, toils under the watchful gaze of the Apus, the mountain gods. It is the dry season in the 15th century, under the expansive rule of Topa Incupanqui, and we follow Homan, a Runacona farmer whose name evokes the protective falcon spirit, through the unyielding rhythm of his days. Homan's life, etched in the sweat of highland labour and the quiet resilience of his people, stands in stark contrast to the scented ceremonies of the elite. His struggles with hygiene and sustenance, drawn from the archaeological remnants of abandoned Tamboza way stations, and the vivid sketches in chroniclers' tomes, paint a portrait of endurance amid the empire's demands. A world where the soil's embrace was both nurturer and tormentor. Let us shadow him from the dawn hushed to the starlit close, allowing the steady scrape of his tackler-digging stick to lull you into a profound, earthy calm. Horman's home is a modest kolkor, adjacent hut in the Elu of Patalacta, a cluster of stone and thatched dwellings huddled against the Urubamba River's rush. He stirs on a woven-etu grass mat spread over packed earth, the floor's chill seeping through like the night's regrets. Mingled with the faint, yeasty tang of stored quinoa from the corner granary, sleep comes in fits, interrupted by the wind's howl, through chinks in the itchu, thatched roof and the distant bleat of alpacas in the coral. Their woolen warmth a luxury he tends but rarely shares. His body, lean and weathered from mitter rotations, corvée labour that pulls him to distant quarries or roads, accers with the morning's promise of toil, joints stiff from the altitude's bite, and the previous day's haul of potatoes from frost-hardened soil. Awakening, he feels the night's residue, a crust of dried sweat on his neck, the itch of dust settled in his armpits, and the gritty film on his teeth from yesterday's coca quid, its leaves still tucked in a chuspa pouch at his side. Hygiene dawns with the river's call, a ritual born of necessity rather than ceremony. Horman rises, wrapping a simple unku tunic of coarse alpaca wool around his frame. Its fibres, hand-spun by his wife, absorb the night's odours but repel washing, as submersion felts the weave and invites moths. He pads barefoot to the riverbank, the dew-kissed stones cool underfoot, and kneels to splash frigid water over his face and hands, the current's icy shock drawing a sharp inhale that clears the sleep fog. Water here is pure but parsimonious, drawn from the Amuna aqueducts that snake down the mountainsides, its faint mineral tang from andesite channels a constant companion. No soaps grace his routine. Instead, He rubs his skin with handfuls of wet corky clay, river mud rich in silica, its gritty paste scrubbing away field grime and dead skin, leaving a faint earthen scent that clings like a second skin. The abrasion reddens his palms, already calloused from gripping the tackler, but it invigorates, believed to invoke Pachamama's favour for the day's yield. His feet, cracked from terrace paths, receive a similar treatment, the clay's coolness soothing fissures that harbour infections from unhealed cuts. Attending to his hair and scalp, Horman combs through his straight black locks with a wooden tupui fork, its tines carved from mole wood, parting strands to inspect for lice. A plague of the highlands, drawn to woolen folds and unwashed scalps, he crushes the offenders between thumbnails, a habitual snap, then chews a wad of muna leaves, spitting the fibrous mash onto his crown as a natural repellent, its minty residue tingling against the itch. Oral care is coca-centric. He tucks a fresh quid into his cheek, the leaves' bitter alkaloid numbing gums swollen from gritty meals, while a sip of chicha, fermented maize beer, rinses his mouth, its sour warmth loosening food debris, but leaving a yeasty aftertaste that ferments through the morning. Teeth, worn flat from chewing raw quinoa and the occasional charqui dried llama meat, bear the stains of betel-like coca, a mark of endurance rather than vanity. Clothing follows, a pragmatic layering against the wind's knife. Horman dons his uncu, belted with a woven chumpy sash dyed in earth tones from cochineal and Kulu indigo. Its pattern's a map of his Ailu's history. The wool, unwashed for weeks to preserve lanolin's waterproofing, carries the accumulated scents of smoke, sweat, and stable muck, beaten clean with a stick against a rock each full moon, the thwack echoing like a drumbeat. Sandals of rawhide, laced with sinew, are slipped on, their soles caked with terrace clay, offering scant protection from the sharp tola shrubs that snag skin and fibre alike. The morning meal is communal, shared in the hut's central hearth where his wife kindles a fire of kulpa dung and ichu stalks, the flame's acrid smoke curling upward through a roof vent, filling the space with a warm, barnyard haze. Horman eats from a clay pale bowl, boiled chuno potatoes, freeze, dried and spongy, mashed with kiwicha grains and a dribble of chicha, the tuber's starchy blandness a staple that sticks to his unwashed fingers. Salt from the coastal tribute pinched from a gourd adds a briny spark, but the bowl's interior, scoured with corn cobs, retains a faint, fermented patina from prior uses. Insects, pantry moths drawn to the grains, are flicked away, a minor skirmish in the daily war against spoilage in the thin air, where preservation is life's art. As the sun crests the eastern ridge, Horman shoulders his Yareta basket and heads to the terraces, the path a serpentine climb where each step stirs red dust that cakes his legs like war paint. Labour begins with the tackler, a foot-plough of hardwood and stone thrust into the soil with a grunt, turning furrows that hug the mountain's contour. The work is backbreaking, the altitude sapping breath, sweat beading despite the chill to trickle into eyes and mouth, a salty irritant that stings unwashed wounds from where a thistle pricks. Hygiene amid toil is opportunistic, a pause at midday to rinse hands in a trickle from the aqueduct. The waters flow too scant for more, leaving his tunic sodden and clinging, its wool chafing skin raw from repetitive motion. Sanitation interrupts the rhythm sparingly. Horman uses a field latrine, a shallow scrape in the terrace edge covered with soil after use, its waste destined to enrich the patacancha plots below, a cycle revered as Pachamama's gift. The act is private yet exposed, the wind carrying faint odours downslope to the Alu's stream, where laundry, beating woolens with stones, competes for water, the runoff muddying both cloth and current. Parasites thrive in this loop, roundworms from soil contact, treated with Peiko teas that purge the gut with cramping waves, their bitter aftertaste a constant undercurrent. Afternoons bring Mitta oversight or communal faina, where Horman joins kin to repair aqueducts, his hands blistered from hauling stone, dusted with luta mud to seal cracks, its mineral slickness a temporary salve. Evenings return him to the hut for chicha and tales by firelight, the beer's warmth loosening tongues but bloating bellies, relieved in the night's privy pit. Sleep claims him amid the stable's lowing, his body a map of the day's struggles, grimed, aching yet unbroken. Archaeological traces from Nuco Pampa reveal tackler fragments and herbal caches, while mummies from Laguna de los Sihiendos show dental wear and parasite scars, affirming the farmer's toll. Horman's days, a quiet defiance against the heights, ground the empire in sweat and soil. As stars wheel overhead, let us reflect on these lives. bridging past and present in gentle repose. Inca nobles, Ves farmers, imagine yourself balanced on the knife edge of an Andean and a terraced shelf carved into the sheer face of a mountain near Pisac, where the air is thin and crystalline, carrying the faint, crisp bite of high-altitude herbs mingling with the earthy exhalation of turned soil. It is the flourishing era of the Inca Tawantinsuyu, around 1470 CE, and the empire's social strata unfold like the terraces themselves nobles, the Orojones with their earlobes stretched by golden plugs, symbolizing their divine proximity, perched in Cusco's sun-warmed palaces, while farmers, the Ayalukin who tilled the empire's breadbasket, clung to the rugged slopes with calloused hands and unyielding resolve. Hygiene in this stratified world was a reflection of status, elaborate and aromatic for the elite, pragmatic and soil, bound for the labourers, yet both were forged in the same forge of altitude, scarcity, and spiritual interconnection. Let us traverse these levels, contrasting the perfumed rituals of the Paini nobles with the gritty endurance of farmers like Huaman, allowing the wind's soft whistle through the Kulka storehouses to guide you toward a serene, reflective close. Begin at the pinnacle with the noble class, the Curacas and their kin who administered the Soyas provinces from Cusco's imperial core. Picture Lady Inti Killer, a courier of the royal bloodline, her name honouring the sun and moon. Awakening in the Coricancha's inner sanctum, a chamber of gold, leafed walls where sunlight streams through trapezoidal windows, gilding the air with a warm, metallic glow. She rises from a low platform draped in vicuna wall tapestries, the finest fibre from the high puna, its gossamer softness absorbing the night's subtle perspiration yet releasing a faint, lanolin sweet scent that speaks of Andean pastures. The floor, a mosaic of andesite polished to a mirror sheen, is warmed by underfloor flues from subterranean hearths, but the night's chill lingers on her skin, a reminder of the empire's unforgiving heights. Attendants, Akla chosen women, their hair bound in ritual braids, approach with the hush of reverence, bearing silver ewas shaped like llamas, their spouts etched with solar motifs. Lady Intikiller's ablutions are a symphony of luxury, infused with the empire's botanical wealth. The ewa's contents, spring water channeled from the Wilkawaman aqueducts high above Cusco, cascade into a low basin of beaten gold, its surface rippling with a clarity born of mountain filtration. Though laced with the subtle mineral kiss of andesite, she dips her hands and face, the water's chill a bracing invocation to Mama Kocha, the sea mother whose distant tears feed the highlands. Anakala then applies a balm of cantuta petals, crushed with muda oil, the flower's vivid crimson yielding a honeyed, floral essence that coats her skin in a protective sheen, believed to draw Sami energy while repelling the puny shadows of fatigue. This unguent, warmed in a clay vessel over the brazier, spreads with a silken glide, masking the night's faint musk, but trapping the day's impending sweat in its emollient embrace. Her hair, long and lustrous, is combed with a toupee of polished spondylus shell imported from the coast, its pearls clicking like rain on stone, while a rinse of Paco infusion, epizote boiled to a green clarity, deters the lice that even vicuna-clad scalps invite in the close quarters of palace life. The herbs bitter, an ice-like aroma lingers, a noble's signature that wafts through courtly halls. Oral hygiene elevates to ritual artistry. Lady Intikiller chews a quid of coca leaves alkalized with lime from sacred huacas, the paste's numbing effervescence cleansing her teeth, purely despite a diet of chicha and roasted kai, while the leaves' subtle, verdant tang freshens breath for edicts and orations. In contrast, Haman the farmer, from our earlier vigil, greets the dawn with a hurried splash from the Urubamba's frigid flow, its current tugging at his ankles as he scrubs with fistfuls of corky clay, the abrasive mud grinding away the night's grime, but abrading his knuckles raw, leaving them cracked and bleeding in the dry wind. His uncouth tunic, woolen and earth-toned, is shaken free of overnight dew and stable dust, its fibres matted with the previous day's soil, reeking of dung and sweat, a garment washed only in the rare Cunchis Cellar rainy season streams, lest the wool shrink and unravel. Sanitation carves the deepest divide. Lady Intikiller's privy is a refined alcove within the palace cancha, a stone seat over a chute flushed by aqueduct water scented with sarasara bark, its woody spice neutralizing the waste-sharp ammonia as it drains to terraced fields far below. Servants, veiled in cotton uxo, empty any overflow with reed scoops, composting it with chuno peels for the royal waiter gardens. a cycle where even excrement becomes tribute to Inti's light. The air in this space remains faintly floral, petals of chuzek scattered daily, but the chute's occasional gurgle betrays the system's strain under the court's numbers. Huaman's facilities are communal and crude. A Wera trench at the Elu's edge, dug into lowest soil and covered with echu fronds, its contents shoveled into guano, enriched plots by Mita labourers. The stench, a pungent blend of human and alpaca waste, rising sharp in the still mornings, masked only by wind or pure poya fumigation, whose smoky grassiness offers fleeting relief. Contamination lurks. The trench's leachate seeps toward the river, where Huaman draws drinking water, breeding the Jardia cysts that twist his gut, treated with Huayra caspi bark teas that purge with crampy insistence. Meals mirror the chasm, yet share the earth's bounty. Lady Inti Killer dines in a sunlit Pata pavilion, reclining on cushioned litters as Akla serves silver palais bowls of quinoa porridge laced with kiwitra and honey from cloud, forest bees. The grain's nutty warmth accompanied by chicha frothed with mollusca shells for effervescence. Her fingers, anointed with luta for slipperiness, dip into the fare. The vessel's rinsed in rose, scented water that leaves a subtle, metallic film from the silver. Huaman gathers his elu around the hearth, supping from earthen puka bowls of boiled aluco roots and kewa tubers, their starchy heft scooped with colloused hands. The food's plain earthiness, unadorned save for salt crystals from Punnan tribute. His bowls, scored with river pebbles, harbour a gritty residue of prior meals, a breeding ground for the dental caries that plague his filed teeth, soothed by coca, quids that numb but stain. Social currents flow between strata at festivals and Mita assemblies, where nobles descend to inspect terraces, their perfumed forms parting crowds of farmers, whose unwashed woolens carry the reek of coral and clay. Lady Inti Killer, in an axo of embroidered vicuna, receives keepus reports from Waitana overseers, her attendants fanning away the dust of tribute bearers, while Huaman, kneeling in obeisance, feels the wind shift their scents, floral against fecal, like worlds colliding. The Inti Raymi unites them in shared anointment, nobles with cantuta oils, farmers with muja pastes, all under the sun's approving gaze, though the throng's closeness breeds shared lice and coughs from the thin air. Archaeological strata affirm this duality. At Sacsayhuaman, elite kolkas yield gold comms and herbal jars with muja residues, analysed via spectroscopy in Cusco labs, while farmer middens at Moray reveal clay scrapers and parasite-laden coprolites, their eggs of Tania solium hinting at pork tapeworms from coral proximity. Kapak Dao and way stations hold charqui wrappers scented with sarasara, bridging elite tribute with labourer sustenance. Mummies from both classes show similar frostbite scars, treated with Ureta moss poultices, underscoring the altitude's impartial bite. In this terraced tapestry, nobles like Lady Inti Killer ascended on aromatic wings, while farmers like Huaman rooted deep in the soil's unyielding grip, their hygiene a shared thread in the empire's woven Kumbi cloth. As the sun sinks behind the Apus, casting long shadows over the Andean, let us gather these threads into reflection, easing from ancient struggles to the gentle present. Sweat lodges and ritual cleansing in Mississippian society. Picture yourself standing on the grassy banks of the Mississippi River, the air thick with the hum of cicadas and the damp, loamy scent of river mud baking under the noonday sun. It is around 1100 CE, in the heart of the Mississippian culture, near the great mound city of Cahokia, where earthen pyramids rise like silent sentinels over a sprawling network of villages and fields. Here the Sweat Lodge, a low, dome-shaped structure of willow and clay, stands as a sacred haven, a place where body and spirit are cleansed in a ritual as old as the river itself. For the Mississippians, whose lives pulsed with the rhythms of maize harvests and celestial cycles, hygiene was not merely practical but a communion with the unseen, a way to align with the upper world's purity and ward off the chaos of the beneath world. Let us enter this steamy sanctum, guided by archaeological traces and cultural echoes, letting the soft hiss of steam and the murmur of chants draw you into a gentle, enveloping calm. The Sweat Lodge, known in later oral traditions as a chukatak, is a rounded frame of bent willow saplings, lashed with sinew and covered in layers of clay and deer hides, its entrance a low tunnel facing east to greet the dawn. Inside, a central pit cradles river stones heated in an external fire, their surfaces glowing red as embers, tended by a hopeya, a shaman priest whose chants weave the lodge into the cosmos. Imagine a village elder, perhaps a woman named Redcorn, revered for her maize husk weaving, crawling through the tunnel with a bundle of sweetgrass in hand. The air inside is warm and heavy, a womb-like embrace that smells of damp earth, burning cedar, and the grassy sweetness of Eupatorium perfoliatum, bone-set, tossed onto the stones. Water, drawn from the river and stored in a clay jug painted with spiral motifs, is poured slowly, the steam rising in thick clouds that bathe on Redcorn's skin, mingling with sweat to trace paths down her arms and back. The act is purifying, believed to expel ghost sickness, a malaise of body and spirit caused by imbalance or ancestral displeasure, its heat a mirror to the sun's life-giving fire. The ritual unfolds with deliberate slowness, a meditative cycle of heat, chant, and reflection. Redcorn, seated on a woven mat of river reeds, breathes deeply, the steam's herbal tang clearing her lungs, though it stings eyes accustomed to the open fields. The Hope intones prayers to the Sunfather, his voice low and rhythmic, punctuated by the soft thud of a deer antler drum, aligning the lodge with the cardinal directions. Sweat carries away the day's grime, field dust, maize pollen, and the faint fishy residue from handling river catches, but also the unseen burdens of spiritual impurity. The lodge's floor, packed clay, grows slick with moisture, and the hides overhead trap the heat, creating a humid cocoon where time blurs. After an hour, Redcorn emerges, her skin flushed and glistening, to rinse in a shallow pool of the Mississippi's muddy flow, the cool water a rebirth under the watchful sky. Archaeological evidence breathes life into this practice. Excavations at Cahokia's Monk's Mound periphery have uncovered sweat lodge foundations, circular depressions with carbonized willow and ash layers, dated to the Stirling phase via radiocarbon analysis. Chemical traces in the ash, studied at the University of Illinois, reveal pollen from solidargos, goldenrod and artemisius sagebrush, herbs used for their antimicrobial properties, suggesting a practical benefit to the spiritual rite. Skeletal remains from nearby burials show reduced fungal infections among frequent lodge users, though prolonged exposure to humidity left traces of dermatophytes, skin fungi. In bone lesions, a silent cost of the steam's embrace. Clay jugs, painted with serpent motifs, hold residues of cedar oil, applied post-bath to seal skin against the river's chill, its woody scent a lingering shield. Culturally, the sweat lodge was a communal anchor, open to both elite and commoner, but steeped in hierarchy. Chiefs, adorned with coppereous bulls, entered with falcon feathers, symbolizing their upper-world ties, while farmers like Redcorn brought maize cobs as offerings, linking their labor to the Earth Mother. The lodge's steam was believed to carry prayers upward, its heat purging the body's heavy energies linked to illness or moral lapse, while herbs like Monarda fistulosa bee-balm soothe respiratory ailments from wood smoke-filled homes. Yet the lodge's proximity to village middens, trash heaps of fish bones and maize husks, meant contamination risks, with water sources shared for bathing and waste, as evidenced by coprolites containing Entomoeba histolytica amubos, a cause of dysentery. Women's hygiene in the lodge was particularly significant, tied to lunar cycles. Menstruation, seen as a potent force akin to the river's flow, required post-cycle sweats to close the body using pads of milkweed fiber burned afterward to prevent spiritual pollution. Childbirth lodges, smaller and women, only used verbena hastata infusions to ease postpartum pain, their floral bitterness a maternal balm, though infections from unsterile clay tools lingered, as seen in pelvic scouring from Mound 72 burials. The Chukotak was a microcosm of Mississippian life, a sacred space where the repulsive, sweat, mud, communal germs became a path to purity, uniting the body with the cosmos. As the steam's echo fades, let us follow a figure whose life embodied this balance, bridging the earth and sky in daily devotion. The daily life of a Mississippian chief. Envision yourself atop the grand monk's mound at Cahokia, the morning mist curling like spirits around its earthen slopes, as the first light of 1150 CE paints the Mississippi's oxbows in hues of gold and amber. Below, the city hums with the rhythm of thousands, potters, weavers, and warriors preparing for the day's tasks. We follow Sun Hawk, a Maiko or paramount chief, whose name evokes the solar divinity he embodies, a leader whose daily routines wove governance, ritual, and survival into a seamless mantle of authority. His life, glimpsed through archaeological finds and ethno-historical parallels from Creek and Natchez descendants, reveals a hygiene shaped by privilege yet tethered to the same riverine and earthen realities as his people. Let us trace his day, from dawn's sacred rites to evening's communal feasts, letting the steady beat of his footsteps on the mound's crest guide you toward a restful calm. Sunhawk awakens in a cedar, post-longhouse atop a subsidiary mound, its walls of woven cane plastered with clay, the interior dim and smoky from a central hearth where embers of hickory glow. His sleeping platform, raised on oak logs, is cushioned with deerskin and maize husk mats, their faint, leathery scent mingling with the hearth's wood smoke, a comforting yet acrid veil that clings to his braided hair. The night's chill, drawn from the river's breath, leaves his skin damp and his body, scarred from ritual tattooing with muscle, shell needles, aches slightly from the weight of ceremonial copper plates worn in yesterday's council. Attendants, young men trained in the busk rites, approach with silent steps, bearing a clay vessel painted with the forked eye motif of the falcon, filled with river water warmed over the fire. Hygiene begins with a ceremonial rinse, a nod to the Sun Father's purity. Sunhawk kneels as an attendant pours water over his hands and face, the liquid's muddy clarity carrying the river's silt, its coolness a grounding ritual. No soap exists, but a paste of crushed sassafras albidum roots, sassafras, lathers into a frothy, spicy foam when rubbed, applied to his torso and arms to scrub away sweat and ash, its pungent aroma a sacred offering that lingers in the morning air. His hair, adorned with eagle feathers, is combed with a turtle shell comb, parting strands to apply a salve of bear fat and silphium resin, its minty sharpness deterring lice, but leaving a greasy sheen that catches the light. Oral care involves chewing Ilex vomitoria, yopon holly, its bitter, caffeinated leaves purging the mouth's maize grit. Though the plant's emetic properties require a delicate balance, the aftertaste sharp and lingering. His attire, a display of chiefly power, is donned with care but resists cleanliness. A breechcloth of woven mulberry fibres, dyed with walnut hulls to a deep brown, is girded with a belt of copper beads, its metal tarnished by sweat and humidity. A mantle of turkey feathers, vibrant but fragile, drapes his shoulders, brushed daily but rarely washed, as water dulls the sheen prized as a divine gift. The garments, stored in cedar chests, carry a faint must from confinement, masked by sachets of monada tucked into folds. Sandals of bison hide, laced with sinew, protect feet caloused from mound climbs, polished with river clay to maintain suppleness, though dust clings stubbornly, a gritty emblem of his earthbound role. The morning meal, served in the Longhouse's council chamber, is a ritual of abundance. Attendants present hickory platters of hominy, maize soaked in wood ash lye, mixed with venison and amaranthus seeds, the grain's nutty warmth offset by the smoky tang of grilled catfish. Sunhawk eats with a mussel shell spoon, his fingers greasy from dipping into communal bowls, the vessels rinsed in river water that leaves a silty residue. The meal's richness, a chief's prerogative, fuels gout, as seen in skeletal remains from Cahokia's elite burials, treated with salix willow teas that bitter the palate but ease joint pain. The day unfolds with governance. Sunhawk presides over disputes in the plaza, his copper gorget glinting as warriors and farmers kneel, their unwashed bodies reeking of field sweat and river fish. The air, thick with communal odours, is fanned by attendants with turkey, feather fans, stirring dust that settles on his mantle. Sanitation in the mound complex is structured but imperfect latrines, shallow pits lined with clay, drain to nearby sloughs, sprinkled with ash to dull the fecal stench, but overflow during spring floods, as coprolites from Mound 51 reveal Jardia traces. Evenings bring feasts, where Yorpon tea and roasted maize fill the air, the floor's rushes trapping spilled food and fostering vermin, a quiet challenge to the chief's splendour. Archaeological finds, copper earspools, clay vessels with sassafras residues, echo Sunhawk's life, while ethno-historical accounts from De Soto's chronicles note chief's perfumed dignity amid savage odours. His routines, a balance of sacred duty and human frailty, anchor Cahokia's pulse. As twilight falls, let us explore a final facet of daily life, where food preparation shaped hygiene across these civilizations. Food preparation and its hygiene challenges in ancient American civilizations. Imagine yourself seated by a crackling hearth in a Mississippian village, the air heavy with the nutty aroma of roasting maize and the faint, acrid bite of wood smoke curling toward a starry sky. Across the ancient Americas, from the Maya's jungle hamlets to the Aztecs' lake, bound kitchens and the Incas' highland hearths, food preparation was a daily ritual that bound communities, nourished bodies, and reflected the delicate balance between sustenance and sanitation. Yet it was also a crucible of hygiene challenges, where the tools, ingredients, and environments of cooking introduced unseen risks: grit in maize, bacteria in unwashed pots, and the ever-present spectre of contamination from shared waters and hands. Let us explore this culinary world, drawing from archaeological potsherds and cultural practices, letting the soft clatter of grinding stones ease you into a restful state. In the Maya lowlands, food preparation centered on maize, the sacred exim that was life itself. Picture a village woman, perhaps our Ixchel, kneeling before a stone metate in her courtyard, the rhythmic scrape of her mano grinding dried maize into flour, the air dusted with fine starch that settles on her arms and hair. The maize, stored in clay jars sealed with agave lids, often harbours weevils, flicked away with a practiced hand, their faint, musty scent blending with the hearth's copal smoke. Water from the cenote, used to knead dough for tortillas, carries silt and organic traces, and the clay kumol, a griddle heated over embers, retains a patina of grease from beans and chili stews, scrubbed with sand but never truly clean. Fingers, rinsed briefly in the morning's basin, knead and shape, transferring sweat and dirt to the dough, a cycle that breeds bacteria like salmonella in the humid heat, as coprolite studies from Köppen reveal. Aztec kitchens, in the urban sprawl of Tenochtitlan, elevated cooking to art yet faced similar perils. A noblewoman's attendant, preparing tamales for Lady Xochitl, steams corn husks filled with turkey and mole in a clay aulus, its interior blackened from repeated use, cleaned with lake water that leaves a briny film. The market's bounty, fish, amaranth, chilies, arrives on unwashed hands of vendors, their fingers sticky with lake slime, and preparation surfaces of basalt slabs, swept with palm fronds, harbour microbial traces. Excavations at the Templo Maya yield potsherds with chili residues, their porous clay a haven for Escherichia coli, while codices like the Codex Mendoza depict communal cooking, hands dipping into shared vats, spreading dysentery's seeds. In the Inca highlands, Huaman's wife grinds quinoa and chuno on a battened stone. The tubers freeze, dried bitterness a staple, mixed with kai fat in clay puka pots over dung fires. The pots, scarred with ash, retain a smoky residue, and water from aqueducts, though clear, carries giardia from upstream latrines. Chicha fermentation, in vats lined with straw, invites mold, its yeasty tang a cultural necessity but a health risk, as mummies from Paruchuco show intestinal scarring. Across these worlds, hygiene faltered where survival demanded shared tools, unsterile waters, and the press of communal hands wove nourishment with danger, a balance etched in every meal. Reflections on ancient American daily life and modern comfort. Imagine yourself once more in the quiet of your present, the distant echoes of pyramids and terraces fading like mist before the morning sun. The air around you is clean and still, free from the heavy scents of copal smoke, lake brine, and terraced soil that perfumed the lives of the Maya, Aztec, and Inca. As we draw this gentle journey to a close, let us reflect on the vast tapestry of ancient American civilizations we have wandered through. A world where daily existence was a profound interplay of ingenuity and endurance, ritual and reality, where the repulsive facets of hygiene and survival were woven into the very fabric of survival and spirituality. From the humid cenotes of the Maya to the engineered canals of the Aztecs and the highland terraces of the Inca, these peoples crafted lives of remarkable resilience. Their routines a testament to human adaptability in the face of nature's unyielding demands. Let the steady rhythm of their stories settle over you now, easing the mind toward the soft embrace of sleep. In the Maya lowlands, we glimpse the intimate mornings of Ixchel and the elevated ceremonies of Ahau Kihol, where water from sacred sinkholes cleansed not just the body, but the soul, balancing the humours in a cosmos alive with spirits. Their latrines, simple pits sprinkled with lime, and steam baths of aromatic herbs spoke to a harmony with the earth, even as parasites and decay lurked in the shadows of unwashed linens and shared waters. Hygiene was a ritual dance, where yucca pastes and cenote dips warded off the bad winds. Yet the jungle's humidity ensured that cleanliness was fleeting, a momentary communion before the cycle of sweat and soil recommenced. Archaeological whispers from Tikal and Palenque, bone combs etched with glyphs, middens layered with maize and waste, remind us of a people who thrived by integrating the body's messiness into their worldview, transforming potential repulsion into a sacred equilibrium. Turning to the Aztec heartland, the floating city of Tenochtitlan unfolded as a marvel of hydraulic defiance, where Moctezuma II's perfumed anointings contrasted with the laborers' canal-side scrubs. The Temascal's steam, infused with epizode and pine, purified priests like Quetzalcoatl for blood rites, while nobles like Lady Xochitl donned unguents of cacao to seal their divine skins. Yet the lake's brackish embrace united them all, latrines draining to chinampas, aqueducts straining against floods, and markets thick with the mingled odours of unwashed tribute and fish. The Florentine Codex and unearthed coprolites from the Templo Maya reveal a society where waste fueled abundance, but at the cost of dysentery's grip and the ever-present itch of lice in crowded Calpulli. Here, hygiene was an act of empire, ritualistic for the elite, laborious for the many, yet inescapably human, a veil of fragrance over the pulsing realities of flesh and filth. High in the Andes, the Incas' terraced world offered a stark ascent, where Ceres Mudo bombs and Cantuta rinses elevated noble purity, while Huaman's river clays and cocoquids grounded the farmer's toil. The Puric baths of thermal springs and aqueduct, flushed previes showcased engineering genius, scents of Sarasara and Paco warding off the altitude's chill and the soil's cling. But the thin air amplified every discomfort, chilblains from unwashed wool, parasites from leachate, tainted streams, and the constant chew of coca to numb the ache of Mita. Excavations at Machu Picchu and Choqquequirao, herbal residues in mortars, quipu knots tallying tribute, illuminate a hierarchy where fragrance signified status, yet all shared the earth's unyielding cycle, waste recycled into fertile Anden rows, a profound alchemy of repulsion into renewal. Across these civilizations, patterns emerge like constellations in the night sky, the shared reverence for water as portal and purifier, the herbal armory against unseen foes, and the social gradients where privilege perfumed, but did not erase the body's truths. The Maya balanced humors with bloodletting and steam, the Aztecs engineered sanitation into cosmic order, the Inca wove sense into imperial harmony, grim realities, parasitic burdens, dental decay from Maze's grit, skin afflictions from labor's lash, tempered their triumphs, yet these were not defeats but integrations, the repulsive reframed as offerings to gods and earth. Archaeological troves, from Coppan's latrine parasites to Tenochtitlan's black layers and the Andes luta pots, bear witness to lives lived fully, unapologetically, in dialogue with their environment. Now, as these ancient rhythms recede, contrast them with the quiet luxuries of your own evening. The tap's warm flow, untainted by cenote depths or aqueduct strains, invites effortless renewal. The soap's lather, born of modern alchemy, dissolves the day's traces without ritual or residue. Fresh linens, laundered in machines that hum like distant drums, cradle you free from wool's itch or cotton's cling. No lice patrol your scalp, no waste cycles through your walls, no herbal pastes seal your pores against evil airs. These comforts, born of centuries' progress, whisper of the distance travelled, from pyramid shadows to electric glow, from shared latrines to private ease. Yet in this distance lies gratitude for the Maya weaver's resilience, the Aztec priest's devotion, the Inca farmer's quiet strength, whose struggles paved unseen paths to our repose. Let these reflections settle like dew on the terraces, cooling the mind's wanderings. The pyramids stand silent now, their stones moss-covered and still. The canals reflect only stars, their waters clear of ancient burdens. The mountains cradle their secrets in eternal snow. Close your eyes, if they linger open, and feel the weight of history lift, replaced by the soft present's embrace. The ancient Americas, with their vivid lives and veiled repulsions, fade into dream, leaving you in peace. Sleep well, carried on the gentle current of time,